if you kind of overlay them together, oh, I see Dr. Shefali has joined, and okay. Oh my God, so exciting. Hi, Debbie. I know. Ah!
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. Oh my God, I'm so excited.
I have your book here.
I'm going to cry.
Oh,
Oh, I'm seriously going to cry. Oh my God, you shouldn't starting live like this. Your book, A Radical Awakening. Wow. I'm so sorry. I emailed you when I heard Alicia Keys start to read this book. So she started reading your poem. And I was like, damn, like, who is this person? And I immediately ordered your book, not even finishing listening to Alicia Keys talk about this poem. And I was losing my mind because I'm going, is she talking about me? Like, who is she? Why is she writing this poem about me? I don't know who she is. She's talking about no more. She's talking about, just unabashedly, boldly occupying your ultimate sovereignty. And I was just like, she knows me. So I'm going to send her a message and I'm going to tell her that you're awesome.
and you are too. And I just began reading your book, and your email talked about how your own journey was mirrored in the book. And I was like, I need to talk to this woman as well. So we are now kindred spirits and together on this journey. So I'm so happy too.
Oh, Dr. Shefali, like, I went through the book, in your book, and this is my copy of your book, and I hope you don't mind that it's full of writing and notes and just all kinds of, like, I'd write paragraphs in the pages, and I kept saying, oh, and look at it, it's tearing.
You're so sweet.
It's
So we were going to do this live on my page. So I wanted to be a mutual dialogue. So tell us, because my audience is here too,
oh
about your journey. You've been in Parliament. You are this trailblazer leader for women. So tell us about how your journey has felt for you being a woman in a man's world, and how you've had to overcome your own inner unworthiness.
so it's interesting because, sorry, I need to stop crying. I never actually felt like a woman or a Black person or a Black woman until getting into politics. And it hit me in this, like, really profound way how much of a man's world it is and how exclusionary the spaces. And I called politics, one of the reasons your book resonated with me so much is I called politics the most painfully beautiful experience I've ever had, because I feel like I went through so much pain in that experience, but also came out of the other side realizing I needed to go through that in order to have a radical awakening.
So tell us what it was about that brutal world that shook you up so much.
I think it was more about the fact that I kept making myself smaller and smaller. So, you straighten your hair, you wear black, you don't put on too much lipstick because, I mean, too much lipstick is too much, not too much makeup is too much, all this stuff was too much. And you know what? 2 years into the experience, I actually came home and said to my family, this job is killing me. Like, it's killing, something about it was hurting me on the inside. And I just thought in 2017, I thought, I have to be myself. I have to be my authentic self in order to overcome, to survive, and to thrive in that world. And I wish I read your book before that, because it just gave those little tools, those questions. You know, I was checking mark, you know, do I do this? Do I make myself smaller? Do I drink? Do I try to numb the pain? Do I do all these self-destructive, self-doubt behaviors that ultimately will undervalue my position as probably one of the most powerful people, like as a parliamentary secretary to Justin Trudeau? How do you reconcile those things?
Wow. Yeah. So you experienced it at the level of politics, but people are writing. That sounds like my marriage, right?
Right.
You experienced it on a big platform, but we women, and that's why I wrote this book. We're talking about A Radical Awakening and Selena's book, Can You Hear Me Now? So both these books, yes, I love it. Both these books speak to the journey we have to take to undo all those messages that come so naturally to us now, and we think it's part of us, the playing small, back of the line, dimming ourselves down, not knowing how to be, because we don't naturally occupy places of power. We
Right.
don't know how, inner power. I'm not talking about outer power.
Yeah.
To occupy inner power is something we have to struggle with, and it only comes about through the undoing of all those messages. So
Yeah.
in my book, when I was writing it, I thought that people may say, oh, it's because she's an Indian woman, and many do. But it's not because I specifically grew up in a traditional, conventional way. These ways of being have been ubiquitously conditioned in women across the
Yeah.
globe.
Yeah.
And we're just not aware of it. We're not aware of it. A child who immediately senses that her father is in control, that we need to be quiet when the father walks in, or a child who immediately understands in the education system they need to be quiet and follow. So we women are taught early, seamlessly, to immediately dim our inner knowing and follow the outside. And this is what we do robotically till we have a radical awakening to realize that we are now doing it to ourselves. No one has to even tell us. No one had to tell you to wear black, right? Or
No.
to look masculine, or it's just something we're trying to do to fit in to the man's world. You know, I
Yeah.
was with a white man on a podcast recently, and he literally asked me, "What do you mean by a toxic patriarchy?" And I said, just the fact that you're asking me is the toxic patriarchy,
Yeah.
because only a white man that too would ask that question. What is the toxic patriarchy?
Right.
I'm like, it's all around you,
Right.
right? But because the man and then the white man doesn't have to contend with what we need to, which is, where do I belong? How do I fit in? How do I contour myself? They don't have to. The space is wide open. They
Right.
don't experience the struggles that we have to.
Yeah. And you know what? When your first chapter, soul erosion, a soul erosion, I felt that. And you know, people ask me, why did I write Can You Hear Me Now the way I did? It's vulnerable, it's raw. I expose all of my pains, all of my mistakes, all of my sort of inner guilts and experiences, because I feel like, and you articulated in your book, that we hide the parts of us that have taught us the best lessons.
Yes.
We
Yes.
hide them to fit, because you know, women are not supposed to, you know, have an affair or do drugs, or you know, have like drink alcohol or anything. And those kinds of things for me were a part of my life that taught me such valuable lessons about how to be empathetic.
Yes.
You know, as a politician, how to be the voice of for the people. You need to have empathy. You need to have experienced some stuff.
Right, right. And the first subtitle is Turn Pain into Power,
Yeah.
because that's what you're talking about. That the parts of us that give us our greatest strength, we have to pretend don't exist.
Right.
And speaking about pain allows us to claim it. You know, so even women in the Me Too movement took so long to come out because of that, the stigma of being a victim. And women the world over are victims in many ways. Not that we have to have a victim consciousness. I explained that in the book.
You do.
There's a big
Chapter
difference.
3, part 3. Oh my God.
There's a big difference between a victim and and having victim consciousness.
Yes.
But because we're so afraid to be seen as, you know, the crying victim, that we don't say it when we are victims. And unless we say it, we can't check the patriarchy, right? We can't check it. And therefore, the patriarchy goes unchecked. The toxic parts of the patriarchy go unchecked. And then it perpetuates. So we become part of the co-creation now. And therefore, owning, speaking, claiming, manifesting, and embodying our pain is the way to create awareness and push back when there is injustice. You know, we don't need to feel bad for being victims of an unjust system. You know, Black people have been made to feel like they're crazy for having 400 years of entrenched indoctrination that they are not worthy. Then they protest and they're crazy, right? That's gaslighting, right? Like, oh, why do you have such a big chip on your shoulder? And you're like, it's called 400 years of slavery, right? How can you not? So we want to gloss over the pain. We want to gloss over the wounds we cause other people because it causes too much disturbance in us to look at ourselves in the mirror and then create reconciliation and reparation. It's too much. So we blame the quote unquote victim.
Absolutely. And in the book, I use the term finding a perfect union with my imperfect self. And understanding like the reason why I liked, you know, and I was so drawn towards that poem that Alicia Keys was reading and reading your book was because I almost felt like I needed a validation of the fact that I was owning my mistakes and my mistakes didn't own me.
Right.
That I was allowing myself, and you say it's in this sharing that we can collectively rise. In sharing that we could collectively rise, that we could, and somebody in the chat said, you know, if half of us are left behind, we're all left behind. But if we want spaces to change, if we want our institutions to change, we can't keep trying to fit in.
Right. So we are protesting. For example, I write a whole section about beauty, and I'm totally to blame for the co-creation. But so we fight against being objectified, but who objectifies us more than us women?
Yes.
So what you said, to embrace your imperfect self and to claim your pain so that your pain doesn't claim you is the only way to not be part of the system that is oppressing you. But we don't get that. So we are in the system, fitting in and hating the system, but fitting in. So we are pumping the system on steroids. Each time we bend down, each time women compete with each other,
yes,
we put air in the wheels of patriarchy, of the toxic patriarchy. When we put ourselves down internally, looking at the mirror, we've pumped the toxic patriarchy with steroids. So we don't realize how we are co-creating the injustice that we suffer against.
Yes, killing ourselves to fit in, somebody said. And to be honest, the time that I was in politics, especially the first 2 years, that's what it was. How can I not be Selena? Because I kept thinking, why would the universe put me in this position as someone who is outspoken, who is very bold, who is a total transformative, you know, powerhouse, and then I'm put in this position where, again, nobody told me the rule that I had to be quiet. I had to quiet down, but I quieted myself down. I ended up having a nervous breakdown. So you talk about this in the book. You break. It was classically nervous breakdown in 2016, and even then, not realizing. So the nervous breakdown was like, oh my God, well, then I need to do more. I need to work harder. I need to, like, you know,
Right.
wear more black suits and not high heels and no
Right.
dresses and, you know, make sure that my hair is even more straight. How painful.
Right,
How,
because you lost yourself. Your beautiful, bold self was submerged under your desire to be perfect
yeah,
and to fit in to a system that simply doesn't see us for who it is we are. They only see a very narrow prototype of a woman.
right,
And but then we're fitting into the narrow prototype. So
right,
we've now checked it again, we've strengthened it.
right.
So it takes bold courage to not fit in, to defy the matrix, to step up. You
Yeah,
know, when I got my divorce, the pain of the divorce was okay for me because I understood transformation was afoot. But what was hard for me was culture's expression and impression of the freaking divorce.
that,
So that's when I realized I needed to help women claim their voice, because culture cannot stop. It's painful enough to go through a transformation. We don't need victim blaming, victim shaming, and commiseration. We need strength of our sisters, and women judged the most, you
yes,
know, and
yeah,
because it reflected their own lack of initiative, right? Their own lack of, like, how am I not being authentic? So
right,
because it threatens other people's inauthentic ways, they then project it and tell us to be quiet. So
yes,
the world will change when we women, the answer is in us women,
yes.
because those in power will not change. Why would they change? It's comfortable.
They're comfortable.
So only the oppressed can rise, right? Because only the oppressed have space to rise. So
Right.
our voice, we cannot wait for men to change the system or governance to change. It's individual women, to our daughters and ourselves, to keep owning ourselves. You know, the other day, my girlfriend came over and she said that she has an internal critic of a voice that constantly tells her she's not beautiful enough. And I said to her, okay, you're doing it to yourself, but you say this in front of your daughter. She's like, all the time. So I said, now you've passed on legacies of shame that are not real, but they're constructed by culture onto your child, you know? And I said, when will you accept who it is you are? You know, so self-acceptance, true self-acceptance is the holy grail, right? That's the
Yeah,
holy grail. And
yeah,
and we
yeah.
are in a culture that doesn't accept women for our power. And we are dissected and abducted from our truth. So this book is really, and Selena's book, can you hear me now? Right? Can you hear me? Do you really hear me? Do you really see me? And
Yes.
of course, ultimately, it's only us who can see ourselves. If you, whoever's listening, sees yourself and decides today that I will no longer be prey to the culture, the voice of culture's criticism, then I will begin to love myself. And you know, self love is so cliched, but that's the real truth: self celebration, self worth, self acceptance.
It is, it's so true. And you say accept power, but I think it's more than accepting. It's that unafraid, unapologetic version of our power, of our divineness, of our self-worth, of truly who we are. And I think for me, when I decided to step into that, it was, I was so afraid because it comes with consequence. So there's a question, you know, how do you not lose yourself? Because you know that you're going to be met with culture, the cultural resistance to you saying, no, 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 I don't need to accept this. I don't care what your title is or what your name is. I don't need to accept this behavior. I don't need to play small. And that culture is going to butt up against you. The power of this conversation, Dr. Shefali, is that when women decide that they are going to support each other in an authentic, loving way that supports and nurtures and believes and is kind, that's the transformational magic. That's the empathetic courage that is required to change, to actually change the world, to create equity, to fight against climate change. I'm always saying, how can we fight climate change? How could we be fighting for the grass when we don't even fight for each other?
Right.
How could we want the grass, in climate change? Like, we're trying to save the planet. We try to save the planet, but we can't even turn to our sisters and in love and embrace and empathy and kindness. How can we save the grass?
Yes.
How can we save the trees?
Yes.
When we can't even love and save each other.
Right. I love that, Selena. You are amazing. So we're talking about her book. She was supposed to be on my Instagram, but mine, yours, same thing. This is a book. I'm reading it, and this is mine, A Radical Awakening. Selena, I want you to come on my platform soon too, and we can continue the discussion. I'm so honored to be here with you. Thank you for having me.
This was the highlight of my entire, everything. Thank you so much.
But can I just say, you reached out to me, not that I want everyone to reach out to me, but I always say that I can sense in the email the energy and the power. I didn't know you. I get a bazillion women asking me to share their story, and everyone's story is worthy. But I just want to say something about you uniquely. You shine, and you shone through 5 sentences of an email. And I'm here, and I didn't forget. I wrote back to you. I said, I haven't forgotten. I'm working it out, because you're really, really got some powerful energy to share with the world. So I just want to endorse you and celebrate you and be your friend and your sister. And we're going to meet again and share our work with the world. Thank you for reaching out to me.
Thank you so much. So much love. Anyone who has not purchased A Radical Awakening, this book, honestly, is one of my favorite books. So mind-blowing. I have so many notes. Thank you for supporting us. Thank you, Dr. Shefali, for seeing us and for using your own experience, not just your lived experience, but your experience as a clinical psychologist, as an author.
But I also want to say that look what we 2 women are doing, right? We see each other's strength. We see each other's beauty. There's no competition. There's only uplifting and elevating. I adore you. I want you to rise. So imagine we do this for each other. Don't wait for someone to reach out to you. If you see your neighbor, your mother in the carpool, reach out. We women need each other.
Yes. Yes.
So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for the hugs. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much for joining today. Get the books. Love you. Bye.
Bye.